Have you ever looked at a TV hanging on a wall and wondered, how did we go from giant box-shaped televisions that weighed over 50 kilograms to screens so thin they almost look like picture frames? It wasn't just better technology, it was a race involving billion-dollar engineering breakthroughs, disappearing factories, and one invention that completely changed the television industry forever. Welcome back to Tech Mystery Documentary. Today, we're talking about the secret reason TVs became so thin. Most people think television simply became thinner because technology improved. But that's only part of the story. The real reason began decades ago, with a problem engineers thought might never be solved. For most of the 20th century, televisions relied on a technology called the cathode ray tube, or CRT. Inside every CRT television was a large glass vacuum tube. At the back of that tube, an electron gun fired tiny streams of electrons toward the screen. Those electrons had to travel a certain distance before they could create a clear image. That meant one unavoidable thing. The bigger the screen became, the deeper the television had to be. It wasn't poor design, it was simply the laws of physics. This is why older 32-inch televisions could be nearly half a meter deep and weighed more than an adult suitcase. Engineers spent years trying to solve this problem. Then, in the late 1990s, a completely different technology arrived: plasma televisions. For the first time, manufacturers could build large flat screens without the enormous glass tube behind them. People were amazed. Stores filled their windows with televisions that looked almost futuristic compared to the bulky boxes everyone had at home. But plasma TVs had their own problems. They consumed a lot of electricity. They produced more heat, and early models could suffer from screen burn-in if the same image stayed on the screen for too long. The search for something better continued. That breakthrough came with LCD technology. Instead of firing electrons across a giant tube, LCD televisions used millions of tiny liquid crystal cells to control light passing through the screen. The bulky vacuum tube was gone. Televisions immediately became thinner, lighter, and easier to mount on walls. But there was still one limitation. Early LCD TVs needed large fluorescent backlights behind the entire display. Even though the screen itself was thin, the lighting system kept televisions thicker than manufacturers wanted. Then came the breakthrough that quietly changed everything: LED backlighting. Instead of placing fluorescent lamps behind the screen, engineers began using tiny light-emitting diodes. At first, they were placed across the back of the television. Then manufacturers developed edge lighting, positioning LEDs only around the edges of the display. A special light guide spread that light evenly across the screen. Suddenly, televisions could become dramatically thinner without sacrificing brightness. It was one of the biggest engineering breakthroughs most people never noticed. But there was another reason TVs kept getting thinner: competition. Every major company wanted to advertise the world's thinnest television. A thinner TV looked more modern in advertisements, took up less shelf space in stores, and cost less to transport because more units could fit into each shipment. Thin wasn't just better engineering, it was also smart business. Today, technologies like OLED have pushed the idea even further. Unlike LCD televisions, OLED pixels produce their own light. That means some TVs no longer need a separate backlight at all. The result is incredible picture quality, and displays so thin they almost disappear when viewed from the side. Ironically, making TVs thinner also created new challenges. There was less room for large speakers, which is one reason many modern televisions sound worse than older, thicker models. It's also one of the reasons soundbars have become so popular. So the next time you see a television hanging almost flat against a wall, remember, its thin design wasn't the result of one invention. It was the product of decades of engineering, fierce competition, and countless breakthroughs that transformed one of the most familiar devices in our homes. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Tech Mystery Documentary, and turn on notifications so you never miss another hidden story behind the technology we use every day. Because every piece of technology has a story, and we're just getting started.